Good morning, Coal Canyon Coyotes. Welcome to our Friday flag video on a Thursday. Whether you are a student or a staff member, we appreciate you tuning in each week. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Put your right hand over your heart. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You may be seated. So guys and girls, we are now 1/3 of the way through the school year, and I'm very proud of the way that each of you are striving to be a hero, make good choices on our campus. How we treat each other with respect may be the most important thing beyond learning how to read, write, and do your math. Thank you for choosing to be a hero each day. And speaking of heroes, Friday, November 10th is a non-student day to observe the Veterans Day. On this day, we recognize the many sacrifices of those who served our country valiantly to keep us safe and secure in our great country. Our own 5th grade students got to experience the Field of Honor Memorial Display this past Wednesday, led by several military veterans and others with the Rotary Group. And they saw the flag display at the Marietta Civic Center. The Marietta Veterans Memorial is open to the public on Saturday, November 11th. Families are welcome to visit this very informative and special memorial to our community and our country. So if you get a chance this weekend, show appreciation to any military veteran you may have in your family or in your neighborhood, and express gratitude for the great sacrifices made for our freedom. These folks are our true heroes. So now we have Dr. Wheeler with a special message.
Good morning, Coyotes. I hope you are all having a wonderful day so far. I wanted to talk to you about being respectful, especially when adults are speaking. We all know how exciting it is to have something important to share, and your thoughts and ideas are very valuable, and we want to hear them. However, there's a right time and a right way to do it. Imagine you're in a classroom and your teacher is teaching a lesson. It is crucial to keep quiet and listen carefully. I know it can be difficult, especially when you want to share something. But interrupting not only disrupts the learning process for everyone, but it also takes away from valuable time where we're all learning together. When you interrupt, it might feel like you've been able to share your thoughts, but it comes at a cost. Others become distracted, and it takes time to get back on track, and that means less time for learning and exploring exciting topics together. So what can you do instead? Remember, there's a simple solution. Raise your hand, wait for the right moment, watch for nonverbal cues from your teacher, and be patient. When the time is appropriate, your teacher will give you a chance to share your thoughts, and everyone can benefit without disrupting the flow of learning. So let's practice being respectful listeners, raising our hands, and waiting for the right moments to share our wonderful ideas. Together, we'll make our school a place where everyone's voice is heard. Thank you for listening, and now over to Mrs. Lane.
Hello, students and staff. Remember that every Friday flag video, we are going to be recognizing those students in all the grade levels who have earned the hero shout out from his or her teacher. Remember that these are the students who have shown just what it means to be helpful, encouraging, respectful, and outstanding. So here we go, kicking us off with our kindergartners. From Mrs. Miller's class, we have Emmy and Hadley. From Mrs. Amprout's class, we have Claire. From Mrs. Gorton's class, we have Fiona.
And in 1st grade, with Miss Stringer's class, we have Nixon. And Mrs. Cron's class, we have Marcus. From Espinosa's class, we have Avery W. In Mrs. Murray's class, we have Ariel. And Mrs. Moritz class, we have Landon. And in Mr. Reagan's class, we have Iceland.
For our 2nd graders, from Mrs. Teresa's class, we have Genesee. From Miss Silva's class, we have Kensley. From Mrs. Garrity, we have Isabella and Ben. From Mrs. Gonzalez, we have Joaquin. From Mrs. Manzella, we have Michaela and Charlotte. And from Mrs. Schott's class, we have Victoria.
Moving on to 3rd grade, Mrs. Hess' class, we have Aubrey and Annalise. In Mrs. Levin's class, we have Hunter. In Mrs. Welch's class, we have Oliver. Mrs. Hewittson's class, we have Mina. Mrs. Tope's class, we have Dom. And Mrs. Hartley's class, we have Isabella.
For our 4th graders, from Mrs. Ariano's class, we have Riley. From Mrs. Schroeder, we have Natalie. From Mrs. Calvillo Murray, we have Santana. From Mr. Pacey, Declan. From Mrs. Murray's class, we have Chance. From Mrs. Hayes' class, we have Addison. And from Mrs. Trujillo's class, we have Reese.
And finally, in 5th grade, from Mrs. Bryan's class, we have Evan. Mrs. Reagan's class, we have Ava. Mrs. Greenstein's class, we have Mackenzie. Mrs. Morandi's class, we have Parker. Mrs. Bethke's class, we have Hunter. And last but not least, in Mrs. Hemrick's class, we have Jack. Congratulations to all of those who earned that weekly shout out. Remember that these names are going to be entered in that monthly class prize drawing at the beginning of the month for our live Friday flag assembly. So keep doing all of that work, being a hero, everyone. Let's go ahead and take it back to Mr. Shaw to close it out.
We are all so proud of your efforts to be heroes on this campus. Like I said, we hope that these Friday flag videos encourage you to make good choices, model that appropriate behavior at all times, and be part of a dynamic community of learners. Have a great 3-day weekend, everyone. We'll see you later. See you on Monday.